Well, everybody, welcome to my smart home HomeKit enabled ultimate living room tour setup. I want to show you guys exactly what I've been working on and what I've been cooking up. Let's get into it. So I do want to make one quick recommendation before we get into all the accessories in this entire video, and the first thing is going to be that with HomeKit enabled accessories, they're relatively expensive. There are some cheaper options and cheaper alternatives, but this is something that I built up over the past 2 or 3 years. This wasn't an overnight situation where I went to Best Buy and spent a ton of money all at once and then got a bunch of HomeKit enabled accessories. So definitely keep that in mind, and I want this goal of this video for you guys to pick and choose some things that maybe will just kind of help it make your life a little bit more efficient and not just want to go out and get every single thing all at once. So that's something that I do want to disclaim in the very beginning so you aren't overwhelmed by all the different things that I mentioned. And then number 2 is we're breaking down this video into 3 different sections. We're going to focus on the entertainment section, which has to do with the TV, the console, the furniture around that, the different video game consoles, and ultimately the Apple TV as well. Then we're going to talk about more kind of lighting and outlets and smart outlets. And then finally, we're going to be talking more home-enabled things like smart thermostats and security systems and smart locks. So now let's get right into this video, everybody, and start off with which is the section I'm most proud of, which is the entertainment section. Starting off with my first ultra short throw projector, the BenQ V5000i. Let me show you it. So I've always been very intrigued by the idea of an ultra short throw projector, but there's always been a couple of things holding me back. One of them is obviously price point. These ultra short throw projectors are not cheap, but they are getting now smaller in price points because they are becoming more readily available, and the technology and price point is finally catching up, getting it in the hands of more and more people. So this V5000i by BenQ is a 4K ultra short throw projector that goes up to 120 inches in size. I've kept it at 100 inches, as you can see here, because I decided to go with that ambient light rejection screen, which is an ALR screen for short, and that allows you to get even more lumens and more peak brightness out of it, because even when I was using this originally against a white wall, you really won't get that crispness out of it if you aren't using this ALR screen. So this ALR screen is sold separately. I'll link everything down below for you guys to check out, but I've been absolutely loving my experience with this V5000i. But even in the middle of the day, with the sun blaring in, with my windows open, with my balcony open, you still get great picture quality. So I've been absolutely in love with this setup, and it has everything that you would want out of a 4K projector to begin with. Not only is it a 4K projector, but it also has a built-in speaker in there, so you don't need a soundbar, you don't need any additional speakers. It works exactly how it's supposed to right out of the box. It also supports HDR10, HLG, HDR10 Plus support, so it covers pretty much the entire gamut of what you would want to watch out of a projector like this one. And out of the box, it is an Android-based TV. I did opt out to get rid of that and go with the Apple TV, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. And one of the biggest things that I love about this is that it does come with 3 HDMI 2.1 ports, and one of them is an eARC port, which connects directly to my Sonos Arc, allowing other auxiliary products that are connected through the HDMI ports to then work directly with that Sonos Arc without me having to change any inputs manually or anything like that, and it works like an absolute charm. And I've been using this one for about a year now, and like I said, I don't think I can go back to a normal screen. Yes, you can probably get a little bit more brightness, a little bit more crispness out of, like I said, a 65 or 75 inch ULHD TV or something like that, but again, being able to watch, let's say something like college football or playing your video games on a 100-inch panel without any kind of pixelation or the colors getting too light or anything like that, it's been a great experience to have overall. So I would go ahead and venture off and say take the leap if you're willing to, because you will not be able to go back, and it's so much better than a regular projector because you don't have to deal with any distances or anything like that. This is pretty much just 16 inches away from the wall at a perfect height, and it works extremely well at 100 inches, and it auto corrects all the different levels that you would need, so I highly recommend going ultra short throw, and I'll link this BenQ one down below. And now I do want to highlight the media console that the BenQ V5000 is sitting on, because it really brings everything together, and inside of that is where we house all the other technology that we're going to deal with in a second. So this is by a company called BDI. They make a bunch of awesome living room furniture for media consoles, bar carts, these Bink tables, which we're going to touch on in a second. But this is their Align model, their 7473. And what I wanted was a very high quality media console where I can kind of hide everything away that looks aesthetically pleasing, but is also very low profile into the ground, because again, since I am dealing with a short throw projector, it does have to be a certain distance off the ground and a certain distance away from the ALR screen to make sure we're getting the best picture quality. But again, this is the Align 7473, and it houses everything that I would want, and everything is, again, very high quality, even to the point where how it came in. This isn't an IKEA table. This isn't something that gets put together over 2 or 3 hours. This comes ready to go in one big piece, and all you have to do is set up the actual legs if you need them, and if you don't need the legs, you don't even need to put them on legs. For instance, it did come with legs for me, but I opted out to just keep it even more low profile by keeping it all the way down to the ground, and it works extremely well by housing my Xbox, my Switch, my Apple TV, some books, some controllers, and everything in between. Some of my favorite things about the Align console is first off the actual doors and the hinges. These are going to be soft close hinges for the doors themselves, so we do have a 2-year-old daughter that likes to throw things around and open and close doors, so this saves her little fingers, of course, and also make sure that we're not extremely loud with, let's say, if you let go of the door and it slams shut, that's not going to happen because we do have soft close hinges, which is going to be amazing if you do have a little one sleeping upstairs or something like that. And then also on the inside and the rear, cable management is a big forefront thought because there's little kind of nooks and crannies and little holes and crevices that you can kind of guide your cables through in order to keep this as cable managed as possible. And on the rear, it is very sound dampening with the material that they decided to use. So if you do have, let's say, a speaker inside of there, it won't rattle anything around, but we do have the Sonos Arc right above it, which also fits perfectly in there. And again, we're hiding the cables all through this console and everything is inside of there, including a nice little power strip that houses everything that we would need. So if you guys are looking for a media console or a TV console, whether it is for a projector or not, this one is going to be my recommendation moving forward. And it comes with some awesome colorways as well. I decided to go with this ebonized ash, which I love. So now to get into the centerpiece of this entire thing, which has to be the Apple TV 4K. So I was a person that didn't really think the Apple TV 4K was something that I really thought was worth the money to begin with. I thought to myself, hey, I can go get a Fire Stick TV for 25 bucks from Amazon instead of spending 150 on a Apple TV, but let me tell you, now that we have an Apple TV, I definitely just want Apple TVs all over my house and not just in this setup because it is your center hub for all things Apple that are connected across all your devices, right? If you're deep into the Apple ecosystem and you are building a HomeKit enabled smart home, I do highly recommend getting an Apple TV 4K because it allows you to play with pretty much everything that's involved with HomeKit, from turning off and on your lights, to looking at your security camera, to getting alerts when people are on there, to being able to use your AirPods and AirPods Max if you don't want to disturb somebody that's next to you, being able to AirPlay things with ease from your phone and from other devices. So the Apple TV 4K has been an awesome hub to have, and what's amazing is that it's so tiny, it almost looks like misplaced inside of the media console because you're expecting to have something much bigger in there, but again, Apple TV 4K is very compact, and the remote works extremely well with sound recognition to be able to speak into it, be able to find it with Find My now, which is great to see. So I do highly recommend getting Apple TV 4K if you are building a HomeKit ecosystem. And I do want to mention some other things that I house in there. So I do have an Xbox Series S, which is pretty self-explanatory, and also have a Switch, the original Switch. It's still in there and it still works perfectly fine. And then when it comes to sound, even though I did rely on the BenQ situation in the very beginning, I wanted to upgrade it and get myself a Sonos Arc because again, it works so well with HomeKit, with the Apple ecosystem. It has eARC support, so I don't have to switch inputs over and over again when dealing with different sound sources. So the Sonos Arc has been amazing in the setup. It looks very sleek. I got it in the white colorway because I wanted it to kind of camouflage with my wall perfectly. So that's why it's up there. And again, it is connected via eARC, so whenever I turn in my Xbox or then maybe switch the input to my Apple TV, the sound is still going to come from that Sonos Arc without having to actually change anything. So I do highly recommend it. One thing I do wish that I wish I got the mini sub or the subwoofer to go along with it because it is lacking a little bit of punch, especially in such a grand situation, but it's more than enough by itself if you guys do want to pick one up. And I believe it's on sale from $900 to $700 right now, so definitely check it out while it's on sale. And again, since it is a Sonos product and it works super well with Apple products like HomeKit, AirPlay is something that works extremely well. So if you want to AirPlay from your phone, from your iPad, from your computer, from another audio source or video source, it's going to work wirelessly and very easily. Two more HomeKit enabled speakers that I want to bring up. I have one right behind me back here. You might not be able to see it, but it is a HomePod Mini. And what I love about the HomeKit ecosystem and the Apple TV ecosystem is that if you have an AirPlay enabled device, you can connect as many speakers as you want to it as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi. So I have my HomePod Mini back there, I have my Sonos Arc right in front of me, and then I also have a Sonos Move 2 over in my dining room. So if I really want to and get this kind of multi-channel surround sound, or at least a quasi version of it, because it's not going to be perfect since it's not actually dedicated for that, it does give you enough of a situation where I can turn on my HomePod Mini and then I have kind of a speaker behind me when I am watching an action-packed movie like Dune 2 or something along those lines. And same thing applies with my Move 2 over there. Sometimes we'll have the TV on when we're eating dinner, but we don't want it to be too loud, so it kind of goes around the entire house. So we just actually send the audio from the TV to the Move 2 via Apple TV, and then we're able to then listen to it kind of quietly next to us without it blasting around the entire house. So it's all these little things that just work whenever they're supposed to and how they're supposed to without making you think too much about what you're doing, and that's the perfect situation. So getting yourself some AirPlay enabled speakers if you are in HomeKit, if you are with the Apple TV, is something that I do highly, highly recommend. And the last thing I want to mention when it comes to kind of this TV setup, because I know people are going to ask, is going to be these Bink BDI tables, these side tables, which are almost kind of modular, even though they're not physically modular. What I love about these is that they are very sturdy and very high quality, but lightweight enough that you can move them around and move into wherever you want. So normally I do have them flanking the couch, so I have a side table on each side of the couch so people can put their phone down, put their controller down, or whatever the case may be. But they also move around and they're meant to kind of slide underneath sofas and underneath couches, so you can have a kind of mini desk wherever you are on your couch. So I do this a lot, and I do this very often with my iPad over here. So you can see that I just have it on here. You can slide it underneath, move it around. Very easy to use. And if you guys are on the market for some side tables that are multifunctional, these are something that I recommend because they're sleek, they're sturdy, they work how they're intended to, and it also works as a quasi desk if you are trying to work out of your living room. One thing I will say is that if you do have animals like cats or dogs that shed, I would avoid anything that's black because you will get a lot of hair on there, so keep that in mind, but these come in a bunch of different colorways. I just like the black sleek look, and I just have to vacuum it every so often. Okay, so now let's get into kind of like the home related, the home security aspect of it all, because I have been kind of slowly playing with different things. The first thing I'm going to do is show you guys the actual smart lock that I'm using downstairs, because that's how you enter the room. And this is by a company called UltraLoq. This is their U-Bolt fingerprint series. They are coming out with an NFC enabled one very soon, and I do want to get my hands on that one, but this one has been absolutely amazing. Like I said, I wanted a smart lock that worked with HomeKit. I did not want anything outside of that because I wanted HomeKit, my Apple TV, and my iPad to be kind of my center hub to control my entire house. And that's exactly what this one does. The first thing I noticed is just how easy it is to kind of take off and on and set up one of these smart locks. For some reason, I thought it was gonna be very difficult, but very easy to pop off the old one and even easier to pop on the new one. It comes with everything that you need in the box, including the 8 batteries that you do need, which is something that you don't always see. But again, this is exactly what I wanted because it gives you different ways to actually unlock it. First off, you have the keypad itself, so you can put a 4 to 8 digit passcode to unlock it. You can share with other people, you can share ownership, and then you also have the fingerprint piece, right? With the fingerprint piece, you're able to unlock it with any finger. So I do have it set up with my thumb, and then my wife has it set up with her thumb as well, so it's very easy to use. It has an auto lock feature, so after 30 seconds, it'll lock itself. So every time I take out my dog, I just unlock it, start walking away without having to physically lock it, and then I know that it locks itself, and I get an alert on my phone every time it does lock on my HomeKit application. Of course, just in case it does break down or something happens, it loses power, or maybe just something happens to the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth, there is a physical key that it does come with, so you can unlock it with a physical key, which is something that I haven't had to do at all yet, and I don't really plan on doing because it has been working so well. So that is by a company called UltraLoq. I do recommend it as a smart enabled lock that works with HomeKit and is HomeKit enabled. And like I said, they are coming with their U-Bolt NFC series coming very soon, so definitely stay tuned for a video on that one when it does come out. And then one of the very first things that I ever bought was a smart thermostat, and this one's by Ecobee. This is their kind of Ecobee Light model because all I really wanted to do was to have a smart thermostat that was able to change on my phone and that worked with HomeKit, and also maybe had some smart features to help me not kind of overuse it or underuse my actual thermostat and my air conditioning and my heater, because we are in the Northeast, so it does get hot in the summer and it does get very cold in the winter, so we are going between the heat and the cold all year round. So the Ecobee thermostat is exactly what I wanted it to be. They do have some more premium models that have kind of like a video screen on there if you use Ecobee's cameras and things like that, but that's something that I kind of wanted to avoid. For me, the simpler the better. I just set it up. It was very easy to remove the old one and install this Ecobee one. I've had this one for about 2.5 years now at this point, and I've never ever had an issue with it. And of course, all these accessories have their own corresponding apps that I do recommend kind of maybe downloading and getting into, although you don't absolutely need it. I do use my HomeKit app as a main hub, but sometimes every now and then I'll jump into the Ecobee app to see something if I want to change a actual system setting and vice versa. And then when it comes to home security, the one that I've been using is by a company called Abode. I actually made a video on the Abode home security system, I think about 2 years ago, and it still works amazingly. I have it in my kitchen area, so it's able to see where people kind of come up the stairs, because when you walk in, the only way to go is up since we're in a townhome. So if anybody is coming inside of the house, they have to come up the stairs. So I figured, let me put it right there so I'm able to get a strong connection, still have it plugged in, and then also be able to see anybody coming up the stairs. But it does have a motion sensor, it's got a speaker built in there, it's got a away from home, it's got a at home, it's got everything that you would need out of the actual camera and smart hub. And then I have some other accessories that the kit that I had came with. Like I have some door sensors, some window sensors that all kind of correspond. And it's awesome because every time I open the door, I get a notification. Every time I open a window, I'll get a notification. Every time I have it on lockdown, I'll get a notification. So it's everything that I would need out of a smart system. And there's no monthly subscription fee. It just works as intended. I think there is a fee if you want to save all the footage and things like that. I haven't actually subscribed to that piece of it because I haven't felt the need to, but if I do want to, I'm able to do so. And again, I'm able to view that video stream from HomeKit, whether it's on my phone, on my Apple TV, or any other iDevice that has HomeKit on it. So now let's talk lighting and outlets, because that's probably the one that's the most quote unquote broken. There's so many different brands at so many different price points. Like if you want to get Hue Lights, they're extremely expensive, but yeah, they probably last the longest. Or you can go a little bit cheaper because you don't want to spend the actual money and you want to maybe turn something smart that's actually a dumb light with just different smart outlets and things like that. So I'm going to recommend the entire spectrum here, right? I'm going to start off with Meross, or I believe that's how you call it, Meross. I love this one because it is relatively cheap. It's probably the cheapest HomeKit enabled accessory that you can buy. I have so many of these Meross smart outlets, which basically is a little smart clicker that you put on your outlet, turning anything from a dumb appliance or a dumb light into a smart appliance because you're able to flick it off and on with your HomeKit application. And again, that's all it does. It's just to turn something off and on. And again, that's all that these smart outlets do. They just let you turn something off and on remotely from your HomeKit application. But again, I have so many of these because I believe a 4-pack right now is $25 if you go on Amazon, and I put them all over the house. So if you can see, flanking my actual ultra short throw projector by BenQ are these 2 lamps that I have that I got from Amazon. Now these lamps have their own controller. I didn't want to spend $300 or $400 on the Hue version of them to be enabled through directly with HomeKit. So what I did was I got the remote, I set it up to the light that I wanted, and then I plugged them each into these Meross outlets, and then I'm able to turn them off and on. Now if I want to change the color, I got to use a proprietary app, or I have to use the actual remote that came with these. But again, these are only $40 compared to almost $400 for the Hue enabled ones. So, you know, to each their own. If you want to get the Hue ones and get them on the HomeKit, by all means, they're amazing and they will last a long time. But these I've had for about 6 months. They look absolutely great, and I can control them with my HomeKit application through the Meross outlets, which I tend to do every single day. And then I also have some Meross light bulbs because they do have smart lights that not only are just one simple color in terms of a warm color, but then they also have the multicolored ones, which are a little bit more expensive. But again, nowhere near what Hue charges for them. But I will say that I also have a Hue set of 4 that I've had for 5-6 years now, and they've lasted the entire time and they work perfectly. So again, if you wanted to spend once and use the Hue lights because they will last you a very long time, then definitely go for that. But if you're okay with maybe getting something that's a little bit cheaper and you will get your money's worth, right? They still work. They work with HomeKit. You can control the lights, control the spectrum of colors. But at the end of the day, they aren't probably as, I guess, high quality as the Hue ones, but that's why I like to have a mix of both. I have some of the Meross ones maybe in my office and in my daughter's room, but then I have some of the Hue ones down here in the dining room and in the living room because I just want to make sure that those are always on and always working. Versus the Meross ones, probably every 3-4 months, I do have to reconnect them to HomeKit because they automatically disconnect by themselves. But again, to each their own. At least you know that there's options at different price points and you are getting what you pay for. And then lastly, I do like to make sure that I have enough chargers around the house to make sure that I'm charged, my wife is charged, and then if we have any guests that have, you know, their phones over here that they're able to charge them themselves. So I do have a Nomad base station kind of on our console table over there. I have some cables that are always plugged in that people can charge. So definitely take a note down. If you want to be a good host, have a lot of charging options for people to be able to charge the devices because, I don't know, people seem to appreciate that at the end of the day. But that is everything in my living room, dining room, kind of first floor area. I do plan on maybe doing an entire home, smart home situation where I kind of go into the balcony, maybe show you what the office looks like and things like that. But I'm very proud of what I've been able to build over the last 2 or 3 years, and now it's just the ultimate setup of sitting back, enjoying from both a sound standpoint, a home efficiency standpoint, the automation's working, and if you want to see a video on some of the automations that I use, let me know in the comment down below. This one I just wanted to show exactly what my HomeKit application looks like, all the different accessories that I use, and how the Apple ecosystem and HomeKit and Apple TV kind of play together to give you this awesome experience. But that's going to do it for this video, everybody. I know this is probably a little bit of a longer one, but if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know that you made it to the end. And let me know in the comment down below of what your favorite accessory that I mentioned was. And if there's an accessory that you cannot live without that is HomeKit enabled, leave it down below and I'll definitely check it out maybe for an updated video because I'm always looking for new little things to add here and there. But that's going to do it, everybody. If you want to watch more videos like this one, click on one of these right here. And I know that Jeff Benjamin is working on an awesome Apple TV tips and tricks video that I'll definitely link down below if it's out already. But that's going to do it, everybody. Until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here. Peace.